I was working on my lap, top one noon, when my ears beheld a familiar tune, a Monster Mash parody. And so, while my name begins with D,
he made a list.
I wrote out this D-list.
A new D-list.
Monster Mash with a twist.
Monster D-list.
'Cause too many exist.
The Mash D-list.
The Monster Mash D-list.
Conventional wisdom claims that novelty songs have a short shelf life, and I don't really agree with that, not just because I personally am a fan of comedy music, but also because there are plenty of novelty songs that have become perennial parts of popular culture. But it is possible that the actual humor of a novelty song doesn't have a very long shelf life, so the more entrenched in culture a novelty song becomes, the less funny it feels over the years. Take, for instance, the Monster Mash.
I was working in the lab late one night, when my eyes beheld an eerie sight. For my monster from his slab began to rise, and suddenly, to my surprise,
The Monster Mash has become an iconic part of popular culture. It gets a lot of play every Halloween, but are people still laughing at it? Maybe some people are, but for the rest of us, it's just part of the season. And maybe it's part of the season that some of us like, but probably also quite a few of us are annoyed by it.
He did the mash. He did the monster mash. It was a smash. It was a graveyard smash, right?
So when something becomes so ubiquitous, so inescapable, it becomes an easy go-to reference.
I was slicing up some tail late one night when my eyes beheld a Danish sight as the kaiju from the slab began to rise. Now stay with me as I improvise.
Reptilicus.
It was Reptilicus.
And when the humor of a joke is lost, that joke becomes the target of new jokes. As a result, the Monster Mash, a comedy song, has itself been parodied countless times by other comedy musicians. Sometimes it's a direct parody, sometimes it's a style parody, but either way, if someone does a spooky comedy song, odds are good that on some level it will evoke the Monster Mash. So here are my favorite parodies and pastiches of the Monster Mash, songs that took the original Monster Mash joke and either yes and it or no but it. They either build upon the joke or replace it with their own new joke that counteracts the original joke. Here they are.
it caught on in a flash. They did them all.
Number 7. With a vampire and several monsters in the regular cast, it's no wonder that Sesame Street had a take on the Monster Mash. And in fact, they had 2. Maybe they had more, but I could only find 2. Both performed by Count Von Count, of course. The first is more of a cover than a parody, even if the verses were changed to make it Sesame specific.
I was counting in my castle late one night when my eyes beheld an eerie sight. For my monster friend began to rise.
And the second was a parody they did for YouTube about one monster in particular.
I was baking cookies on Halloween Day when a trick-or-treating monster came my way. There was a Google in his eye when he let out with a cry. Feed me cookie, please. He did the nosh. He did the cookie monster nosh.
I can't believe it took them until 2018 to think of this. It's a match made in heaven.
With panache. He did the nosh. He did the cookie monster nosh. On everyone's cookies, he did feast. This cookie monster wasn't sharing, not in the least.
But because it's Sesame Street, we work in a moral about how rewarding it is to share.
Cookie Monster saw his friends weren't having fun. He realized that others may want some. So he shared with Elmo and the fuzzy blue one.
The Count forgot Grover's name. Unbelievable.
Cookie Monster was sharing. That was a familiar sound.
And all the monsters and also a number get to enjoy the nosh with Cookie.
More trick-or-treaters began to arrive, including Zoe and the number 5.
It caught on in a flash. They did
Number 6.
Werewolf for mitzvah, spooky, scary. Boys becoming men, men becoming wolves.
Ah, the cutaway gag that was so beloved that they had to expand it into a full actual song. And the song I love it. From the visuals in the cutaway, you might think this is more of a Thriller parody than a Monster Mash parody, but when you listen to the full track, it's unmistakable.
Break it down.
I was working late on my Haftorah when I heard a knock on my bedroom door.
Written by Robert Carlock and Tammy Sager, Werewolf Bar Mitzvah it's just so perfectly encapsulates that Monster Mash ideal, but filtered through the Tracy lens. Like, of course Tracy would want to write a very specific novelty song to get royalties from being played at very specific times, but he couldn't settle on Halloween or Bar Mitzvahs, so he just combined them both so he'd get double the royalties. Just chef's kiss.
Boys becoming men, men becoming wolves. Werewolf Bar Mitzvah, spooky, scary. Boys becoming men, men becoming wolves.
All right, that was great, Trey. Okay, it's over. That's a wrap.
The next day, what happened? The Toma didn't teach. I got up in front of everyone to give my little speech.
By the way, that other voice you hear on the track is then 30 Rock writer Donald Glover. And in fact, both voices at some points are Donald Glover.
But then also, there was a change in lyrics, or there was some stuff that Tracy just didn't record. So Donald went in and recorded some stuff as Tracy.
So, this counts as an early Childish Gambino cut.
Boys becoming men, men becoming wolves.
I just don't think the idea of the song can sustain itself for that long. It seems a little sweaty now. So
this whole premise is sweaty.
My only disappointment is that when they expanded it into a full song, they didn't expand the music video into a full music video, but, that would have been expensive. It was already insane that they built sets and did all that makeup for a 7-second gag. They weren't going to redo it for a full video that wasn't actually going to make them any more money.
Nice reception, but the werewolf part was gone. So we pulled ourselves together and we're wolfmen again. Just in time for monster fight to begin.
It caught on in a flash. They did the
Number 5. Hey, so I've usually tried to keep my scripted videos in the PG to PG-13 range, and I don't know if anyone in my audience watches my stuff with their kids, but if you do, you might want to skip to the next entry. Okay, for those of you who stuck around for this entry, this is one of the most vulgar and juvenile parody songs ever written, and it's kind of brilliant. Nick Weiger plays a character named Leo Carpazzi who claims to have written the original, true, gritty version of the Monster Mash before Bobby Boris Pickett held back with his tame version. In real life, Pickett's co-writer was a man named Leonard Capizzi, so good work with the deep cut, Weiger. And what's Carpazzi's original version? It's an orgy. It's just a monster orgy, all the monsters having graphic sex.
He did the monster. The monster. It was a graveyard. Did the that monster sucked and he did the monster.
There's a lot to unpack in this. The blatant and deliberate lack of any cleverness displayed by the chorus, with no attempt to even rhyme with the parody target or find any additional rhymes in the chorus, the bizarrely specific depictions of sex acts in this monster orgy, or the deranged intensity with which Weiger sings this song. He's basically just shouting into the microphone.
Those monsters sucked and they did the monster.
Hey, remember when I talked about Sesame Street in this same video?
Bigfoot gave the headless horseman head. Swamp Thing j***ed up in the castle moat, while Dracula gagged from the j***s in his throat.
But for me, the true humor comes not from the song itself, but from the meta-narrative around the song. For one thing, there's the Funny or Die music video, which is labeled the original Monster Mash, so the comments are just full of stories of people putting this on for their kids, not realizing what it was going to be. And also the fact that it was part of Funny or Die's Halloween event, which means that they got John Carpenter to introduce the idea of this song. But of course, my love for this is not the song or even the video. It is the use of the song as a running gag on Comedy Bang Bang.
The sanitized version, that's the one everybody knows and loves. But it's not my original vision for the song.
You know what? I read about this, and I would love to hear your original version of the song.
Yes, one fateful Halloween, Scott Aukerman interviewed Leo Carpazzi and asked him about his original Monster Mash, and he did not like the results.
Get the fuck out of here.
Okay, it's been a pleasure to be here and share my song.
Yeah, it has not. Leo Carpazzi.
Then, every couple of Halloween since then, Leo would invade the studio and announce that he had written a new song.
But I wrote a sequel.
Oh, that's great.
I wrote a squeakquel, if you will.
Oh, okay.
A part 2 to the Monster F***, and it's called it's called Monster F*** 2, and I think the audiences are really going to enjoy it. I mean, I think it's got everything that you liked about the original song and more.
And the new song would just be the Monster F*** again.
He did the Monster F*** Part 2.
Oh, he'd make some variations to it, but usually just adding a part number to it.
Every time you've come on the show, and you've done it at this point 7 times at least.
That's correct.
Usually on the Halloween shows, you lure me in by saying you've written a new song. You tell me the title, and it sounds like it's going to be a new song. And then you just sing the same song over and over with no variation. I just want to make sure that that's not happening anymore, because that's why I stopped asking you on the show in the first place.
Right. Scott, I assure you, this is a completely new song.
Well, aside from when he updated some of the lyrics to use more modern terminology, but other than that, it's just so consistent each time that he's been called out for how consistent it is.
Is it the same exact song every single time?
Well, I'd argue there are some major variations.
Although I believe some kind soul layered each version on top of each other, and you do not deviate in the slightest.
I think they're different songs. My belief is that they are different songs.
You would think doing just the same parody song each time would get old, but no, the more annoyed Scott gets with it, just the funnier it gets. And how Scott still continues to be surprised that he included Swamp Thing.
Did you mention the Swamp Thing? I don't remember.
I did mention Swamp Thing, yes.
Yeah, usually I'm incredulous at that, but the whole thing was washing over me. I couldn't believe the whole thing.
If a Halloween comes and Leo doesn't show up, Comedy Bang Bang fans get upset. We want to hear this same joke over and over, to the point where Leo at some point had to invade other holidays.
He did the Monster F*** Part 7, Haunted Car. From my laboratory, I heard quite the racket.
It's possible that this is partially a joke on how many times the real Bobby Boris Pickett recycled the Monster Mash idea with barely distinct sequel songs.
But they were up to no good. Didn't act like good monsters should.
But whether that's a deliberate target of the joke or just a pleasant side effect, Scott's ever-growing frustration still has yet to get old.
That was the exact same thing, Leo, and you have to admit it. You have to admit that the only deviation from all the other times you've done it is occasionally, not even every time, you've said 666.
Yeah, the first and the final chorus.
Right.
It's look, it's a new song. It's a new I started this from scratch, and I have my things that work for me. I have my hook, and I just, like I said, I leaned into the raunch. I leaned into what I know.
Even you have to admit that this is the exact same thing. Why would you do this to me?
It's a similar song. It's got a similar structure.
99.9% of it is similar.
I will say this. Look at Rush's discography. A lot of their albums are treading the same ground.
Sure, but they're not singing about Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn every goddamn song.
I mean, maybe that was their mistake.
It might have been.
Because that song was gangbusters.
Look,
every year that this comes up, I think I'm not going to laugh at it this time, and then I hear Scott's frustration, and I'm just giggling all over again. It's the Sideshow Bob stepping on rakes of vulgar seasonal novelty songs.
It caught on in a flash. They did the
Number 4.
Pajama party. 7 o'clock was the time it started.
This is a brief Monster Mash pastiche, but it's part of a brilliant larger sketch parodying fact or fiction shows, analyzing Monster Mashes as a supernatural occurrence.
Do mysteries really exist? Some say maybe, others aren't so sure. Tonight's enigma, monster parties, proved so upsetting, most experts refuse to speak with us.
Bob Odenkirk plays an expert, a Dr. Demento parody with a name that I won't repeat. I get the satirical statement it's making, but I'm not going to say it myself. Scott Adsit plays a Monster Party skeptic, and David Cross plays the poor soul who witnessed the pajama party and had to channel his trauma into a novelty song.
Everything I wrote about at Dracula's pajama party, I experienced. The plasma pizza, the blood balloon race, the bobbing for brains.
If I were to go into any more detail, I'd just be listing all the jokes I like in this sketch, and I don't think anybody needs to hear me dissect that particular frog, but, you know, Mr. Show is still on HBO Max as of this recording. Who knows how long that'll last, Zaslav?
It caught on in a flash. They did the
Number 3. Can a cover of one song count as a parody of another song? Sure, just ask Money for Nothing / Beverly Hillbillies**. And nobody mashes up the lyrics of one song with the musical style of another like Big Daddy, the band best known for doing covers of modern pop and rock songs in the style of 50s and 60s tunes. So what did they decide to cover in the style of Monster Mash? A song from Phantom of the Opera, of course.
Nighttime sharpens, heightens each sensation. Darkness stirs and wakes imagination. Silently the senses abandon their defenses, helpless to resist the notes I write. For I compose the music of the night, the music of the night. Dark are the notes I write. You know you cannot hide. The music of the night.
As far as I'm concerned, this mashup of Weber and Pickett elevates both songs. The overwrought melodrama of the Phantom's manipulations works so perfectly with the hokey Halloween spook times mood, and the music video is just a delight.
This candlelight. Dare you trust the music of the night? The music of the night.
One song's about goofy party monsters, the other song's about a romantically obsessed stalker monster. Let's put them together and make magic happen.
The music of the night. Surrender to your darkest dream. Purge your thoughts of life you knew before. Close your eyes, let your spirit soar. And live as you've never lived before.
And really, there's no reason the Phantom couldn't have been part of the original Monster Mash. He's a public domain monster that Universal made a movie about back in the day, just like all the others. And there's no reason that the musical Phantom couldn't have been in this style. You know, maybe if it was, it would still be running today, instead of having closed after a mere 35 years.
Trust me, savor each sensation. Let the dream begin. Let your darker side give in to the power of the music that I write. The power of the music of the night. The music of the night.
It caught on in a flash. They did them all.
Number 2.
Some people are scared of goblins and ghosts. They shriek at a raven perched on a post. Oh no, they cry, it's a spooky black cat. But there are so many things far more frightening than that.
If there's one thing we can count on the show Crazy Ex-Girlfriend for, it's pairing dead-on song pastiches with embarrassingly relatable emotions. And of course, in its final season, they had to tackle the emotion of embarrassment itself.
I do the cringe. Yeah. I do the cringe.
Oh.
Yeah.
More than a twinge.
The thought leaves me aghast because nothing is as scary as what lurks in your path.
But not just any embarrassment. Embarrassment over stuff that doesn't matter anymore, yet it still feels stronger than stuff that actually does. Embarrassment about stuff deep in the past. Almost the ghost of embarrassment. The spookiest embarrassment of all. So of course it has to be a Halloween jam. And if it's a Halloween jam, it's a mash.
The cringe.
It was a full-blown laugh.
She does the cringe.
It looked like a cute little puppet.
She does the cringe.
He went soft and cried.
And that was the night their relationship died. Whoa!
And as if the song on its own wasn't perfect enough, the fashion is unbelievable. The lady skeleton dresses are just adorable, and I want Patton's suit for myself. I will wear it to weddings and funerals.
Regret can be a blast when nothing is just as funky as what lurks in your past. Cringe dance.
No, also Patton's character might be a murderer.
What?
Nothing. The cringe.
It caught on in a flash.
And my number one favorite Monster Mash parody.
I threw a monster party last Halloween night and invited all the monsters for a fun October fright.
While the Monster Mash deals with a mad scientist surprised with an unexpected party, this song deals with a mad scientist trying to get a party going and failing. And as a result, this song is much more relatable than the real Monster Mash.
I headed to the dance floor, ready to get down, but all the monsters just were sort of standing around.
It was a lame monster party.
Hey guys, come on!
It was a lame monster party.
Doesn't anybody want to dance?
The monsters were boring and the party really sucked, and nobody had any fun.
It's a joke that seems so simple, but it's just so clever, and it's like, I can't believe it took this long for a comedy writer to flip the Monster Mash on its head by just making the party realistic.
Branson, Wolfman argued macroeconomics with Charlie Manson. When Jason wasn't droning on about Scientology, he talked in painful detail about his vasectomy.
I think we've all been to parties like this, and every specific just feels so real and just gets better and better. And the fact that they're paired with monsters doing it is just the icing on the cake.
How about karaoke?
The monsters were boring and the party really sucked, and nobody had any fun.
Plus, there's the added joke of the population of this party. Paul and Storm don't just stick with all the public domain monsters that Universal used in their movies. No, they go with all sorts of monsters from all over history, both real and fictional.
Checking his MySpace account. Leatherface, who showed up drunk, kept hitting on the witches and cornered everybody with his Amway sales pitches. The creature from the Black Lagoon was out in the yard, debating with Godzilla about Kirk and Picard.
Here's the thing, I know if I was at this party, I'd be one of the boring ones. I'd just be in my corner checking my phone or working on the script for the next video.
You can bet I won't do that again. Next Halloween, just me and Igor down at Bennigan.
I'm sorry, Doctor, I would not be a boon to your party. And those are my favorites of the many novelty songs parodying that one novelty song. What about you? Is your favorite Monster Mash dish on this list, or is it another one altogether? Let's discuss this all in the comments, and until next time, this is Dave, signing off.